There we go. Hey, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. Generally, we have the jaws of death that open dramatically onto me, but the jaws must have been tired, so they're taking a nap. So we're going to give them the afternoon off. I'm delighted to have you with us today, and I say us because I've got a very distinguished guest, Denis Washington with Pro Church Video, who's warming up in the bullpen, as it were. And we're going to bring him in just a second. But I wanted to give a big shout out to all of you that are watching live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Periscope. And I would invite you to come over to easternshorebroadcasting.com because you can get in on the chat. That's the benefit by coming over to easternshorebroadcasting.com. We've got a bunch of folks in chat having a big old time asking questions and getting help from each other and making fun of me. So come join the show. You really won't regret it, and they're a lot of fun. It's a good group of folks. Always glad to have them there. If you didn't watch last night was the vMix Fun Time live show for August with Martin Sinclair and the CEO of vMix and Tim, his trusty COO. And they always have a great show. But they made a couple of big, I thought were pretty big announcements last night about vMix. And we're vMix resellers here at what do we call this place? Let's see if the stinger will work. We'll try the stinger. Here we go. So yeah, there we go. This is the infomercial, the commercial part of our info show. We're resellers for vMix. We also resell for Magewell and Uon and PTZ Optics and X Keys, and we've added the Bird Dog line, Bird Dog TV devices to our line. Thanks to Martin K for making this really cool backdrop for us. But as vMix resellers, in fact, we're the number one vMix reseller in the U.S. for the second year in a row. As vMix resellers, I was really keyed into what they said last night when they were talking about vMix. And there were two things, or maybe even three, that were pretty significant. For the last 5 years, vMix has been allowing anyone with a vMix license, with a licensed version of vMix, to update to the latest, greatest vMix for free. So vMix 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 could all upgrade to vMix 21 for free. Unheard of in the industry, where competing products want 50% or 40% or 30% of the original cost to make the upgrade. They say they do it for $60, but really, with a wink and a nod, and knowing that they do it, they just leave the back door wide open and you can come in and have breakfast with them and get a free vMix 21 update. Well, the big news last night was that friendly policy is coming to an end. And it is coming to an end with the introduction of vMix 21. Excuse me. I was going to be so dramatic in the way I said that. Let me try again. It's coming to the end with the introduction of vMix 22. Yes, with vMix 22, you will no longer be able to update for free. The price will be, that's right, $60. Still pretty darn reasonable, if you ask me. So if your vMix is less than a year old, when vMix 22 comes out, you can update for free because you get free updates for a year. And if your vMix is more than a year old and you want to update to vMix 22, then you should pay the $60. One of the reasons Martin said that you needed to update to vMix 21 is because there's some things in vMix 21 that specifically I think are keyed into the changes in Facebook. And so when those changes take effect, they may have already taken effect or they may be about to take effect, something like that. When those changes take effect, vMix 20 and earlier won't work the way they used to work with Facebook. Not something vMix has any control of. Don't think that Martin can call, Zuckerberg and say, change this to be the way vMix wants it to be. It's not going to happen. So you need to make your upgrade. Number one, you need to make your upgrade to vMix 21 ASAP. And number two, you need to be aware that when vMix 22 comes out, that it will be no longer free upgrades. Now, we did get some hints from the guys about what would be in vMix 22. One was that it was going to be how did they put it? Well, they didn't really say, but it was if you go to IBC in Amsterdam next month, you'll get to see the early version of vMix 22. And apparently they are going to discourage people from taking video of it and showing it off the way folks did it at NAB last spring, where people were coming in before vMix 21 had been released, and they were taking video of it and sharing it on the internet. Anyway, so we might get I'm not asking, I just want to be clear, I'm not asking anybody to do this, but if some video were to make itself appear in my inbox from IBC, I would immediately erase it. Yeah, I'd immediately erase it because I don't want to know what vMix 22 looks like. But the big hint was about what's going to be in 22 was that there's going to be a feature that vMix has had. They didn't say for a while or just got or anything like that, but a feature that vMix has had that will be getting an upgrade, a facelift, some big changes to it. And that was the big hint. And so I'm thinking, is that instant replay? That would be a good one. Is it the audio section? Is the way vMix handles audio? Martin did say that it would not include a revamping of the user interface. There was not going to be a change to the vMix user interface. As clunky as it may be, it's familiar, and Martin really believes in protecting that legacy of how things work. And so, at least for vMix 22, he's resisting the urge to update the UI. So there won't be a change in the UI, but there will be a major feature. And I'm using the word major. He didn't use the word major, but I'm assuming it's a major feature in vMix that's going to be reworked, updated, upgraded, and put on steroids, and it's going to be really, 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 really cool. So if you're going to IBC, you'll get a chance to see it then. It will probably be released in a beta at some point after IBC in September, but before NAB in April of 2014, because vMix 22 will be released officially at NAB in April 6th is when NAB begins. April 6, 2014, NAB in Las Vegas. So there are your dates and your timelines to what's going on with vMix. Now, don't ask me any questions because I am sworn to secrecy. So you won't get much out of me unless you give me a candy bar. So that's neither here nor there. Hold on a second. I would also remind you that if you're going to NAB next year, you want to make sure you go to the Streaming Idiots meetup, which will be the Tuesday, April 7th. Make your reservations now. You want to get in on early. We're here in the new studio today, and one of the things that's really neat about this studio is that it's a studio, but it also has a metal roof. And I don't know if you can notice, but there's a torrential downpour going on out there. Hopefully you can't hear it, but I sure can hear it here. The walls are vibrating. All right, enough ado about nothing. Enough ado about nothing. I have known our guest, Denis Washington, virtually for quite some time, and I really am amazed at this guy. He is multi-talented. He doesn't hesitate to take on a challenge. Qualities that impress me. I like to surround myself with people that are smarter than I am, and as you know, it doesn't take much. But Denis is way ahead of me, and so let me bring him into the broadcast and turn his audio on, as I am wont not to do. Denis, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us today.
Hey, it's good to be here. And as you were, I could hear the rain coming in my headphones, so I pulled up my app, and sure enough, you were getting a pretty good little thunderstorm batch right there. I don't know, we'll do a live radar update there for you, but that's a nice little summertime thunderstorm happening right over there, the
typical afternoon
area. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
typical afternoon.
It absolutely is. welcome to normal weather. I had a friend of mine, and I won't stay here for a second, but I had a friend of mine the other day that posted that on Facebook. He said, only in Alabama can you have a sunny day with a 20% chance of rain turning into, that sure sounded like a tornado. So,
Yes.
That's the way it works. It absolutely does.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Well, we are here
Thank
today.
you for the introduction, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's all true, from my perspective, anyway.
Well, I appreciate that, and the pleasure is mine to be on your show. I mean, you bring together people like me and you all over the world, and it's impressive. And I love being a part of your show. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of fun. And that's the whole thing about all this stuff is it's fun. We're big boys and girls, and we get to play with all these cool toys. And we can call it that it's official, it's work, but they're just cool toys. Oh, man.
I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. All right, so today we're going to talk about churches and how churches can use all the new great technology to advance their cause. It's called church marketing, which nobody likes that word because it sounds kind of dirty or slimy, or like a salesman's going to become involved and sell you something that you don't want to buy. But the idea is this medium, this live streaming medium, is absolutely, I think it's divinely ordained, and it wasn't something that we as individuals have discovered. I think it was put in our path for us to stumble over and to use as a tool, and for churches it's an absolute perfect tool. So I'm just going to kind of toss you that as an intro and say, open up your head and let us crawl inside.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, and to that end, it's funny you bring that up specifically because I was just doing our weekly podcast with the preacher at my church 2 hours ago. And afterwards, in our private discussion online before we disconnected, we were talking about that. And absolutely, some people and a good number of people talk often about how evil the internet can be. And there is a lot of really ugly things out there on the internet. Sure. But to me, it's another opportunity, another place where the light can be shown, where we can show the good news, the gospel, the things that are in the Bible. We can share that into places and shine that light into darkness. And to me, the way I feel like the last 25 years of my life in television and the training I had in both journalism and now with live streaming, I feel like I've, all those talents and skills have been given to me for an opportunity now to really do what I'm doing in terms of, as you pointed out, marketing, church marketing. It doesn't maybe sound great, but that's really in essence what it is if you're trying to take a business approach to growing churches. That's really what it is church marketing. Yep.
All right, so tell us all your tricks.
Okay, so obviously all of us, or a good number of us probably already have some sort of live streaming set up at our churches. And that's kind of, for us, especially in the live streaming community, that's almost the low-hanging fruit of the really easy thing for us to do. There's already content that's happening every Sunday or every Wednesday at our worship, at our buildings. So it's real easy for us to point a camera, grab an audio feed from the mixer board and live stream that out on Facebook or the website or whatever. That's really easy. And it's a good first step. If you're not doing anything, especially here in the U.S., a good first step from a marketing perspective is Facebook Live, because there's a really good chance that the people you're trying to reach are also on Facebook. Of all the social media platforms, trying to grab adults, especially that 25 to 49 age group, Facebook's going to be your primary target in that regard of where to reach them at. So starting with a Facebook Live, Facebook still at this moment in August 2018 gives some decent amount of organic reach to Facebook Lives. So you've got a good first step there. But to me, and this is why I've started prochurchvideo.com and haven't officially announced it yet. It's going to happen the next few weeks. But what that is the next step beyond just simply showing what happens in a worship service. It's an active use of social media and the tools that are being given businesses, using those same kind of tools to go out and grab people on social media and at least make them aware of it. So the first step around this is this idea called brand awareness. And I'm going to use a lot of business marketing terms here that I've picked up through my days in TV and then the consulting work that I've done with businesses. The idea of brand awareness is you want to first get people aware of who you are and the fact that you exist in their neighborhood. There's a good chance there are thousands of people around your neighborhood don't even know you exist, so you've got to make them aware. It's real easy to do. It's one of the strategies that I've been using for the last 4 months with my church as part of this, and if you visit prochurchvideo.com, you see I've laid out there exactly what I'm doing for my church right now. Go in there, and on Monday morning, I pull the sermon, download it, find about a 45 to 60 second clip, the best of the clip from that 30-minute sermon, post that to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Transcribe it, so if someone's deaf, they can see the closed captioning right there on it, and embed that in the Facebook video. 1 or 2 sentence description of what it's about with a link to the full sermon on YouTube, and then I'll spend $50 for a 24 to 48 hours and have that video target the people living in the zip code, the 5 zip codes around our church building. I'm targeting adults 18 to 49 or 18 to 54, men and women that live in that radius on Facebook, and Instagram is owned by Facebook, so you get Instagram also when you do that targeting, and I'll spend $50. The results are tremendous because Facebook just wants a little bit of your money in order to go from that 2 or 3% organic reach to about 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30% reach. Facebook's a business. If you're running a page and you want to reach people, even your fans, you've got to pay Facebook to do it. It's just that's typical business practice. So that's kind of like step one, and that's really the base ultimately is I go in and say, okay, who's our target audience? Who do we want to reach that ultimately might make a decision weeks or months from now to walk in our front door and actually come to church with us? That's who I'm trying to reach. That's who I spend $50 for a couple of days to do that. The results, like I said, if I don't boost a video clip like that on Facebook, I might reach 500 to 1,000 people in the 5 zip codes or just generically on Facebook. But if I spend $50, the one we just got through doing that ended this morning from the past 2 days, reached over 5,000 Facebook users in 48 hours.
Oh my goodness. So
now I'm 5 times the number. Instead of reaching 500 or 1,000 Facebook users, I'm reaching over 5,000. It's absolutely, and it's really just taking advantages of the tools that are already there and then putting a little bit of money behind it instead of putting some hope that, well, I hope I can throw this out there and doing that.
So you're not creating any new content. You're just repurposing something that you've already got.
Repurposing. Exactly. And that of the other, and I'll describe the next 2 steps of what we do during the week, but that one thing alone, I will reach more people. Right now in August 2018, I'll reach more people on Facebook and Instagram than anything else I do on Facebook and Instagram during the week, primarily because, 1, I'm spending money on it. 2, it is video. Facebook gives high priority to video over any other types of content. Live video in 2017 was the number one thing, but now even live video doesn't have the same kind of reach on Facebook that it did just 12 months ago. So you still get good reach with a live video, but not the kind of reach that I would see organically on Facebook 12 months ago. It just the reach numbers aren't there. But if you put $50 to it, it doesn't even take that. You could put $25 to it. You'll still see a tremendous amount of return on that, especially when you put that money on a video clip to try to increase the reach of a video clip versus trying to increase the reach of a picture or even just a generic post without any kind of links or anything in it like that.
Sure.
So that right there, that one thing that I do on Monday mornings has more of an effect. And I've seen people comment I saw about 2 months ago someone commented on the Instagram side of the post. They said, and it showed up as alert on my phone. I just laughed when I saw it. It said, "I don't know why I keep getting this in my phone because I don't like church stuff." You know,
Perfect.
I'm just simply using it absolutely was, because, and it's like I tell the leadership at our congregation, for so many years, the idea was put an ad in the newspaper, print up some sort of flyers, and go knock the doors in the neighborhood and hang the flyers on the door, put them in the mailbox. Maybe if they come to the door, ask them to come to church. And then you might do that once a year, maybe twice a year. Right. I'm putting something fresh and useful and unique and different every week. I'm doing that to thousands of people within the zip codes around the church building. And the money's not being spent to push this content to people all over the country, because if you live more than 30, 40 miles from our church building, you're probably not going to come to church with us. So no sense in me wasting money like what you used to have to do when you bought TV ads or newspaper ads. Sure. You know, you would hope that people are, you know, around. The ability to target your advertising, and that's what this really is, but it's not traditional advertising. It's what I call content marketing. You are using content to market your church or your business or your school or your organization, but in this case a church, it's content marketing. And it comes under the cloak of advertising, but it works because now I'm laying something in your hand on your phone that might actually inspire you to do something that could improve your life, that could be the spark you needed to develop a relationship with God or to seek out something that may reduce the stress in your life. It's tremendous. It absolutely is.
We can end the show right here. I mean, that in and of itself was worth the price of admission. Everybody did pay before they came to the show, didn't they? Exactly. Well, and ultimately understanding that concept kind of sets up the rest of the week for me in this term. On Wednesdays, I started doing a weekly live podcast on Facebook Live. We do record the show live. It's a podcast, but we record it live. My pulpit minister and I, we talk for 30 minutes. Whether it's I'll pull a couple of clips from the sermon, we'll play that, talk about it, let him kind of do almost the rest of the story, the things he didn't get a chance to say from the pulpit, to kind of pick his brain and let him explain that. And then we'll have like a question of the week where he answers that. It's a 30-minute show. Most people don't have 30 minutes to sit and watch something live on Facebook, except on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock for Streaming Idiots. But beyond that, their week is busy. But 2 o'clock
they
Central.
Do drive to work. 2 o'clock Central, exactly.
3 o'clock Eastern. Yes.
And so they've got the time to drive in the car, and podcasts are becoming more popular. I mean, almost 20% of the U.S. population, adults, now listen to at least one podcast a month. So we're starting to see people download these podcasts and listen to them. But more importantly than that is you're now getting SEO juice from one of the biggest websites in the world. Your name, your church's name, is now listed on iTunes.com for free, because it doesn't cost you anything to put a podcast on iTunes.com. But now when you search for your church name, iTunes.com comes up in the listing because you have a podcast listed there. So the search engine juice that you develop from that is absolutely tremendous. So as I told our church leadership and our pulpit minister, I said, if we get any responses from our community of people that actually see the podcast, that's great. But what I'm really trying to do is get our church elevated in search rankings on Google. And that's really the ultimate goal with that. And it absolutely is working. There's no doubt about it. And then finally on Thursdays or Fridays, sometime, maybe even on a Saturday, depending on when I get the information, our pulpit minister will send me kind of an outline of his sermon about what he's going to be doing. As well as the church secretary sends me the bulletin before it gets posted. So I'll put together an email newsletter and make a picture promoting his sermon, and I'll put that on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But I'll spend another $50 promoting that to the 5 zip codes around the church building, so that people in that area know what he's going to be preaching on Sunday. And it's not just a Facebook post, but there's a picture to support it. The email newsletter that goes out to our church members has that same imagery, and then when they walk in the door on Sunday morning, the TV in the foyer that displays the announcements has that same imagery as well. All that's coordinated So you've got this coordinated effort to get people interested in what the topic of the sermon is going to be before they ever sit down in the pews on Sunday morning. We do that 7 days. We cycle it, and it absolutely is working. So I've said all that. Now let's throw the fun stuff out there, the actual numbers. So these are the numbers, and I'm just going to read them off my computer here from July. So the analytics that I sent my church leadership in July, Facebook and Instagram, there were a total of 34 posts that we posted on our Facebook and Instagram account. Now, not all of them were for me, but most of them were. We had impressions. Now, let me explain for those of you that don't know what an impression is. If someone sees your name or sees a Facebook post or something with your name that you posted, however it shows up in their newsfeed, that's an impression. They may or may not click on it, but it showed up in front of an eyeball, and that means there was an impression. Our content was served up 57,000 times in the month of July on Facebook and Instagram. That was a 52% increase from June. So in the month of July, that was a 52% increase from the month of June in impressions.
Holy
just
cow.
Facebook and Instagram.
Right.
Engagements. So impressions is just someone just sees it. Engagements is when someone actually likes, comments, shares, clicks, learn more, whatever. 1,546 engagements on our Facebook and Instagram posts. And we're talking only 34 posts in the month of July and over 1,500 engagements on those 34 posts. Of those 34 posts, 27 of them were video posts. And we had 11,000, almost 12,000 video views. The top video was one of those Monday morning clips that I told you about. It was watched almost 5,800 times, just that one clip. So just on Facebook and Instagram alone, I mean, I paid Facebook maybe $250 for the month of July, and ended up with more than 57,000 impressions. It's tremendous. You go from there. We do some Twitter, the podcast downloads. The podcast is early. And like I said, that's a long tail approach. I mean, the podcast episodes were only downloaded 51 times in the month of July, but that was up from 33 downloads in the month of June. So we're going in the right direction.
That's not your main reason in doing it anyway. So it's a bonus.
Exactly. It's a bonus. YouTube. So I made my preacher so happy on this morning. So YouTube now in their analytics will, if you pull any analytics report on your YouTube channel, it ranks it by default in watch time. So how many minutes were your videos watched? Which videos had the longest watch time? All right, so the top 5 videos on our YouTube, and we've had our YouTube channel now for probably 7 or 8 years. Every sermon that is preached at our church, we upload to our YouTube channel, but also now doing the podcast as well. The number 3 video of the top 5 in the month of July was a podcast episode in watch time. Our preacher was just floored. So when you add up the number of impressions we had from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, email, podcast, YouTube, all total, for the month of July, we had more than 61,000 impressions in the month of July, which was up from almost 47,000 in June. So
and that's verifiable statistics of people that have. It's not like they opened the newspaper and just scanned right past your ad as they were looking for something else, or there's
no guessing. I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is concrete down to the number. I can tell you exactly how many saw the name Deerfoot Church of Christ and how many of them interacted with it. I mean, I know exactly to a T how many each I can pull that up live in some cases, as we're doing these shows, but the on-demand, the numbers are incredible. And it's like I told my church leadership, I said, obviously this is a business to me because, I mean, let me back up. Let me say it like this. I told them it's a business and a ministry because I think there's a ministry opportunity here to go out and do this. Now, I've got some skills and been trained to do some things that not the average person is. And I said, if a business walked up to me today and wanted me to do this same kind of thing, I'd be charging them probably $7,000 or $8,000 a month to be able to pull off this kind of work and to create the kind of results for them. So I'm not out trying to get rich off it, but what I said is I need some money to be able to say no to some other project. I can't work for free, just like the preacher doesn't work for free. Right. And so they agreed with that process. And the results, we're 4 months in now to this project, and it has been tremendous and getting a lot of great feedback. And as a result, what I'm planning to roll out here is to be able to do this for other churches around the country as well, thus the prochurchvideo.com website.
You can do this from anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do this from my home. I could be on vacation somewhere and work from there. I mean, as long as you've got a good internet connection, you're good.
All right, so Larry is asking the question in chat, and I like it because this is the bottom line question. 2 words.
Yep.
Attendance up?
Visitors are up, yes.
Okay.
Now, whether they've converted into actual members, I don't know that yet.
Right.
I'm waiting to hear, but I do inquire. I don't have a direct connection to the attendance numbers, but I will talk to the leadership each week or every couple of weeks and say, how many visitors did we have today? Oh, we had 12 visitors in the building today. Okay. I mean, that's and then on top of that, some of these video clips and discussions that will, they're the sharing, when things get shared in the comments on Facebook, you can see their profile, what city they're in if they share that information through their Facebook settings. And, several of them will be local. Sometimes they'll be, global. Our preacher did mission work in Switzerland for several years. So, it's, or Scotland, I'm sorry. He was in Scotland for a few years. So we'll get people that'll watch and comment from Scotland and from all over the country. But the local, yes, we are getting visitors into the building as a result, and
that's awesome.
That's what we want to see.
And your job is to take somebody that is just glancing at something on Facebook and use all these methods to get them to open the door at the church. And then at that point, it's up to the church to do the rest.
Absolutely.
To greet
my
them
job's
warmly.
To get them in the door.
And yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. The 20, 30 years ago, if you wanted to do this kind of marketing, you did it through a newspaper ad, a television ad, a radio ad, a magazine. That was really your option, and it was one directional. It was a broadcast message. There was very little ability to gauge reaction from the consumer about whether they even liked your ad to begin with, and if they did or did not, why or why not they did or did not like it. But now in this internet world, we have this ability to do two-way communication, and it's tremendous the results that we're getting back from it.
Astounding. Yep, we lost your audio. And we lost your video.
Hey.
Yep, here he comes.
You there now?
Yes, we got you.
All right. Sorry about that. The internet was maybe punishing me for a minute there. I don't know. So.
Yeah, your audio's ahead of your video. We'll let you catch up here. While you catch up, let me make some observations on what you've said. Number one, obviously this is a very well thought out, and I'm counting 3, and folks, pay no attention to Denis over there. His video's just catching up. He hadn't quite caught up with us yet. Sometimes he's a little slow, even though I like to think, he's the smartest guy in the room right now. He's a little behind the rest of us. No, I'm just teasing. But you've got the whole idea of repurposing something of content that you're streaming, that you're going to be streaming anyway in this sense. And putting that out there. And then I love the whole idea about the podcast. Now, Denis, when you say podcast, we're talking about a video podcast, right? Not just an audio-only podcast.
No, it's audio as well. So we're doing a little. I'm taking the video and uploading it to YouTube, and uploading the video's already on Facebook. But then I'll take the video file and make an MP3 of it and upload it to. I use Libsyn, libsyn.com. They're a popular podcast hosting company that has their rates are extremely inexpensive to host audio files, and to go from there. So.
Okay. All right, that's good. Looks like maybe the thunderstorm on my end is causing a few issues here. We had a little light flicker there. Unfortunately, in this studio, I'm not on a backup generator as I was in my home studio. And so we may have a couple of issues here. We're on battery backup, so that's probably why the flickering didn't hurt everything. But we'll see. We will see. Okay, so we'll keep going with this. We're waiting for Denis's video to catch back up to us. So I've switched over here, and yeah, it looks like looks like we've gone to pot, as somebody is saying in chat. So pay no attention to the guy on the screen. Just listen to the audio. And in fact, since it's the same with me and everybody else, we'll bring Denis back to the screen. So you sat down with your leadership and you said, here's a plan for bringing people to the front door. And was there some resistance on their part to that, or did they embrace this whole idea?
It took a little bit of time. I mean, there was some initial, especially, and even after the acceptance to that, there were some of the church leadership that really just didn't understand what I was doing. But ultimately I sold it to them as this. I said, we are door knocking in the 21st century. Instead of actually walking up to someone's door, knocking on it, and handing them a brochure and say, please come to church with us, we're actually knocking on their door on their phone. But we're knocking on we're using a different piece of content everywhere. It's not the brochure that just says, hey, come visit us. It's actually something that may be useful to them, some sort of video clip that might actually be might inspire them to do something different. So yeah, it's modern door knocking is what it is.
Gotcha. And for those of you geeks that are saying, Tom, your audio and video are out of sync, I'm checking in vMix call in the statistics portion, and I can see that we've got a latency of 42,000 milliseconds 45 as it's increasing. So we must be having some internet issues here. Although we're getting really low latency, like 30 milliseconds on Denis's audio.
If you need to slow the video down, the bit rate coming back to me, that might help, because there is some stutter. So if you want to slow what's the feedback to me, that might help the outgoing.
Yeah, I'm sending you 240 right now at 300K. So we're just gonna tough through it. And this is one of those situations where the video is nice to be able to see us, but the content of what we're saying audio-wise is so important. All right, so let me recap, and I'm going to go back through again. So you've got the Sunday service that you're live streaming. You're taking a portion of the sermon content of the live stream, and that would be 30 seconds to a minute, maybe.
Yeah, about a 30 to 35 minute roughly. And that's really all we record. I mean, we stream the entire worship service to Facebook, but we record in vMix just the sermon and upload just the sermon to our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Because in the end, a lot of the rest of the worship services look and sound the same.
Sure.
It's the sermon that usually the different element each week that's different from the previous week is the sermon.
Right. Okay. All right. And so you're taking that 30 to 35. Now let me make sure I understand. The Monday morning thing is just a 30-second clip from the sermon, right?
Yeah, and the reason I try to keep that, I try to keep that to 45 to 60 seconds max, because Instagram has a 60-second limit, and I want to put this on Instagram as well as Twitter.
Okay.
Twitter has a 2-minute and 20-second maximum limit on Twitter right now. So that's no big deal. And Facebook, obviously, there's not really a significant limit there in that regard. But Instagram has a 60-second limit. I want to be there mainly because the younger audience, that millennial audience, is very active on Instagram. So I want them available there to get that content in front of them on Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And then you're doing something really interesting with the pastor on Wednesdays. Now, are you using vMix Call to make a connection, or are they coming into your studio?
Yes. So vMix Call is exactly how we're doing it. The pulpit minister from the church building or from his home, wherever he's got a laptop, he comes in as vMix Call, and we do much like what you and I are doing right now, where we do the live show on Facebook, double box, and I record that and send that live to Facebook. But vMix Call has been tremendous in that regard. So hats off to vMix for the vMix Call. It is a tremendous option in this regard.
Oh yeah. And the pulpit pastor, are they just using a browser, or are they using a copy of vMix also?
The browser right now, just doing a browser version, and It absolutely works. He's got a new MacBook Pro, and it's just seamless. It just works. It's tremendous.
Gotcha. Awesome. I think your video is beginning to catch up with us.
It has settled down on my end. Yeah, the static was there was some interruption in that, but I could now, once it cleaned up, I could start to see the video starting to catch back up as well. So
yeah,
it's fantastic.
So now we've got 50 milliseconds of latency instead of 50,000. So I think we're back.
That works.
The thunderstorm here must have given us some internet issues. Good to know about that.
No doubt.
Well, Denis, I don't want to steal all your secrets, so I'm not going to ask any more questions. But
I'm happy to share if on this topic, I've pretty much laid out my best laid plans for this at this point. And let me say this, we talk about this 12 months from now, and I could have a different strategy,
Sure.
and it's very possible I will, because Facebook especially, I think is a slow train wreck in progress. And what I'm really waiting on is to see what the next shoe is going to be. What's going to be the next big platform, especially for adults. I ran across some research the other day from the Pew Research Center. They just released a few days ago a study where they surveyed teenagers in the United States. And in their survey had, I think, about 800 teenagers. But the number one social media platform for U.S. teenagers right now is YouTube. It's like 86%. Number two is Instagram at around, I think it was about 72%. Snapchat was number 3 at 69 or 68%, and then Facebook was number 4 at 51%, and then Twitter and something else was down in the 30s. YouTube is the number one social media platform for U.S. teenagers in the year 2018. They're going to watch video. Now, to me, there is a social component to YouTube. Obviously, it has a commenting feature. It's not, to me, it's still not as social. There is the live chat component as well to some degree, but it's not as social as maybe Instagram or even especially Snapchat. Snapchat's extremely social in that regard. Facebook and Instagram can be to some degree. But to me, what that says more than anything is that in the next 5 to 10 years, unless Facebook does something dramatic, then I think they're slowly digging their grave in terms of importance to the primary target audience in the United States, which is always that 25 to 54 age group. This teenage and young 20 millennial, that half of the millennial age group, Facebook is not. It's half of them don't use it. So I think and so to that end, in this regard with churches and really business marketing in general, the strategy of how to reach them and get in front of them won't be Facebook forever. There's going to have to be a different platform that we're going to have to put our money on to get our content seen, to get even our name seen by this up and coming generation that will become the primary spenders here in the next 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Good stuff. So folks that want to keep up with you can go to your not yet released website.
Yes, it is. And it has my contact information on there, but prochurchvideo.com. My personal blog is deniswashington.tv, so you can check out there. I'm trying to get better about blogging once a month about a variety of topics in this that interest me in this regard. But I do also plan on hopefully announcing prochurchvideo.com here in the next few weeks. I don't have a date set yet, but I'm hoping to have that plan in place within the next few days about how that I plan to officially announce that. There's a couple of guys that are friends of mine who are preachers in Tennessee and Texas that have a tremendous network of preachers around the country. And so I'm in talks with them about making that happen, and we're close to working out details on that. So I'm excited about the future, and I just think there's more opportunity like this to come.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time with us today. And can you hang around for the post show for a few minutes?
Absolutely. Me and the dog and the cats, we're good. We can do it.
All right. Well, folks, there you go. That's Denis Washington. What a generous guy in sharing his trade secrets like this. And, there's a lot to be said for people that share things like video. Yeah, shameless plug. That's right. All right, so Streaming Idiots, Wednesdays, 3 o'clock Eastern. We invite you to come on with us every week on this adventure. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but we think the sum total of it, if you were to go back and watch every show that we had ever done, you would be a genius. No, you would have a lot of extraneous knowledge, that's for sure. But I do invite you to come and join us next week. I don't have a clue what the show will be, but I know it's going to be good, and I'll make sure that you get information in advance if you need it. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. We would invite you to come join our Facebook page, Streaming Idiots. It's a Facebook group, actually. There's a Facebook page for Eastern Shore Broadcasting, but the Streaming Idiots group is also very popular. And so you can stay in touch with us with that type of social media. We're going to go into the post show now. So if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you're going to definitely want to go to easternshorebroadcasting.com because that's where the chat is, and we'll be replying to questions. So hang around for just a second if you're watching us live. If you're not watching us live, if you're watching us after the fact, thanks so much for watching. We will see you next week, and let's see if the outro is going to work this time. We'll blame it on a thunderstorm, shall we? Let's see. How about that? And we're out. It even worked. There you go. Let's turn Denis back on. There we go.
Hey, all right. Man, that was fantastic.
Thank you, man. That was awesome. Yeah, well, it's just real life. It's real life. The content was good enough that people will overlook the crappy video, because your video was like almost a minute behind at one point. And then when the internet cleared up, it caught back up in about 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it kicking in there. It was getting it. So that was pretty impressive. So love that. And no, Denis does not have a drinking problem. That is not something he's trying to cover up. Now, on the church broadcast here, we're talking about Mountain Dew. Let me see if I can turn. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, there we
go.
go.
A bottle of Mountain Dew right there. So that is good stuff.
That ought to quell any rumors right off the bat. There we go.
That's it. Definitely. Oh, that is great. So I did see, and I know I was kind of glancing over at the chat afterwards. I see Kent's question about Twitch TV, but allowing more different content creators to come on their platform. I guess that's really up to Twitch if they want more variety of content. I could only see that as a benefit for them becoming more mainstream, but only if they can handle more people coming on their platform, which I think they can, because gaming is a pretty intensive community as far as bandwidth. The latency's got to be low, and it's got to work, or it wouldn't have the popularity among the gaming community it does now. So
Right.
If they've got the infrastructure to handle the bandwidth of other content creators, then by all means, I would say that. The other thing I would say is there was some talk in the chat that I didn't address during the show about live streaming versus attendance, and let me just briefly touch on this with my personal experience. So in television, would have been about 13, 14 years ago when I was working at the local Fox TV station in Birmingham, Alabama. I was in charge of all things web, internet, and I wanted to live stream our newscast. Well, my bosses at the time did not, and they were against it because they said it would keep people from going home and watching the 5 o'clock news. And I said, y'all are wrong. I'm telling you, let me stream our morning news just as an experiment. And they agreed. And our TV ratings went up when we started live streaming the newscast. And that sold them. And the same way happens with churches. I've seen it happen with businesses. With the Husky Fast Network, our Hewitt Trustful Football Broadcast Network, same thing. We had more than 1 million impressions online last year, and attendance was not impact. In fact, the attendance was up. Gate attendance for home games was up. Part of it because the team was winning.
Right.
But the other thing, we were providing more than 1 million impressions online that they wouldn't have gotten without us, and it just created more brand awareness about their product and the team, and as a result, more people. We had people would sit in the stands. They paid to come in the gate, sit in the stands with their phone so they could see the instant replay on their phone. It does not hurt church attendance, what we're talking about here, at all.
Yeah. Yep. In fact, I think from a church attendance standpoint, it is a tremendous service to church members that either can't get to church anymore because they're sick or infirm or aged. And, there's a great opportunity for the church to reach out to its older population and help them still stay attached. For folks that have got, the kid is sick and so I can't make it to church today. I can watch it while I'm taking care of the kid. I'm traveling.
Exactly.
What was it? Somebody told me the other day they were traveling from Illinois to Alabama on Sunday, and they got to spend, an hour and a half or whatever the length of our service was, being in church on the interstate that they wouldn't have had otherwise. It's a no-brainer.
That's exactly right. It is a no-brainer in my opinion. There's and the outreach perspective, because like I tell people, there may be some people that have misconceptions about your church, about how you worship. And this is the ability for them to window shop. They can sit there and they can watch and listen without actually having to step foot in the door and be greeted by somebody. They may be introverted and not feel comfortable being greeted by somebody, but they can at least get an idea of what your worshiping your church is about before they ever decide whether or not to visit. So
absolutely. Is this a safe
It's a
place?
no-brainer. I agree.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, and everybody in their own way would like to take a look inside the church before they went in there.
Absolutely.
Nobody likes to be surprised.
We do that now with every business. I mean, we shop online now. We do that with just about everything that we do. We look it up online before we go buy a car. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in line with the way we're all using the internet now, no doubt.
Right. I think the Twitch discussion is an interesting one. And I think the point of Twitch is, and I haven't done anything with Twitch, but I know the folks at PTZ Optics have. And the idea is not that you're going to move your audience from where they are to Twitch, but that you are having a presence on Twitch, you're going to find a new audience. So if somebody's saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to stop streaming on YouTube and I'm going to start streaming on Twitch," I think you're missing the boat altogether. I think you're adding, not choosing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And it really comes down to who your target audience is. And this is ultimately, in any client discussion where I've ever had a discussion with someone before, I always start with two questions. One, who's your target audience, and 2, what are you trying to get them to do? What is ultimately the big question is, what does success look like?
Right.
And that's really even the question with this church project and church marketing and any of the other. When before you start the project, you've got to define the terms of success. Is the definition of success here that we're going to increase the number of visitors by 5%, 10%? Okay, if we know that, then we know we have achieved success here. If not, then we've still got work to do.
Right.
So any project where you start this out, there's got to be a clear definition of success before you ever get started.
You know, one of the beauties of this whole live stream thing, and what you just said, is that now everything is very, very measurable. You can set these kind of interim steps to say, okay, we want to increase attendance by 5%, 10%, but we've got to build, and now we can see if our building process is working. Because if you're spending $50 a week and you're not getting 5,000, you're getting 250, then you know
Right.
it's not going to work. You got to do something different.
It's not worth it.
Right.
Exactly. That's
Right.
exactly right. Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing. Even with Facebook, I've got the Facebook Ads Manager app. There's Facebook has an app that will let you manage your ads. But as part of that management, it gives the insights, and it tells you after a campaign is over how much it costs per acquisition. So
Right.
what was if 5,000 people watch the video, then the you divide out the numbers and it costs you 6 cents per video view or whatever. So you can do the math and see the return on investment ultimately is what that is, the ROI, to determine if it was worth spending that $50. These are the results you got, and then it's up to you and your leadership at your church or your business, whatever, to decide if that was money well spent or not.
Right. Dave said a few minutes ago, which I thought was kind of key, and I know folks that work in churches are always interested to see, people can give online too.
Yes.
So every
Yes.
website that has an embed in it that shows a live stream needs to have a donate button somewhere around that, pretty close.
And that's a discussion. There are still some churches, including mine, that I go to, do not have that.
Really?
And the leadership is the leadership at our church is as it's this point, and I haven't addressed it with them in the year 2018 yet, but in previous years we've brought it up, and they weren't comfortable at that point doing that. Now, I think there's enough options out there. Some of it is, I've heard some arguments like one, you don't want people that are already in credit card debt to also give online with their debt-heavy credit cards.
Sure.
Okay, I get that. We don't want to encourage that, but there are a number of responsible people out there, and on top of that, there are options now where you can have it by e-check, which would come directly out of your checking account, that sort of thing. So there's enough options, I think, where you do that. And then there's some people that just are not going to give online. But if you look at like you said with the donate, I mean, more and more people every year are shopping online. The processes are in place to protect that process and with the giving, and I think it should be an option. I agree with that.
Let's see, what else can we get? Amnon says that he's getting 10 new subscribers a week from Twitch because he's streaming to Twitch. And Amnon is streaming from a studio, so he's streaming all sorts of content. The content is as different as his clients. So
okay,
that's
right.
really
well.
interesting.
That was going to be my question: was what kind of content was he streaming and his target audience? But that's
right.
Absolutely. I think, especially for, I would consider if you've got the rights to, high school sports, if you've got the rights to stream it outside of a paywall and that sort of thing, then absolutely look at Twitch. I think there's tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah. Daniel is saying that his church doesn't want to have a donate button. They said it wasn't proper for a church. He disagrees, but he went along with the membership. one of the first things when I had the discussion with my pastor about live streaming, one of his first question to me was, "Can we put a donate button on there?" So it didn't take any conversation with him to try to convince him that that was something we could do. And it's not like the donate button gets overused, but there have been some folks that have used it that are not church members. And they said, we want to support what's going on in the church because we believe in it, or because we feel like we've benefited from it spiritually or emotionally or whatever. And so we want to give in return. And I think not giving people an opportunity to give is a mistake.
I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that.
People need to give for their own sake, not to support the church, because the church is supported by the Lord God Almighty, and He's got plenty of money. It's His job. Yeah.
Right. But there is, in Scripture it talks about supporting the works of the church, and
yes, it does.
Giving people that opportunity to do that. By all means, I agree with that.
Yep. Let's see what other comments we've got here. Kent says he agrees with Tom. That's good. That's why we always like to see this. And Tommy Willis, up the road from me and down the road from you in Tallahassee, Alabama, did part of the Streamfest 2018, Streamfest Live, talking about how he did live streaming in churches on a budget. And I'm talking about a dirt road Tallahassee, Alabama budget. He's posted the YouTube video in the chat. So if you're not in chat and you want to see that, you got to get in chat right now, because Tommy's laid it out there. And Tommy really does know how to pinch a penny and make things happen. Instead of spending a nickel, he can spend a penny. So good stuff there. Well, Dennis,
I've been to
just
Tallahassee
been a champ.
few times. So
Tallahassee. Oh,
well, thank you.
Yeah. No.
The old Tallahassee Hotel, there was I think it's still there, but there was a great restaurant there.
Yep.
I ate at a few times as a kid growing up, because I grew up in Montgomery just down the road. So occasionally we would go up the road to Tallahassee to eat lunch after church. So.
Yep, Sunday brunch. Yep, I remember that.
Yep.
I grew up in Auburn, so we'd be going the other direction down there.
Ah, there you go.
We may have eaten right next to each other and never known it,
Very possible.
It's a
very
small
possible.
world.
That's good.
So folks that are interested in getting up with you about this about having you talk with them about doing this concept for them, either for their church or for their business, because I think the application's pretty easy, but they can get a hold of you through churchvideo.com or through DenisWashington.tv.
prochurchvideo.com or Denis Washington. Yep, that's it. prochurchvideo.com or DenisWashington.tv. My contact information's on both of those sites.
Okay. Well, I really wish you the best in this endeavor, and of course, if I can help you in any way. Oh, Tommy said the hotel was burned down by arson several years ago. So
that's what I hesitated to say, because I thought I'd heard that it caught fire and did that. So I hate that, because it was some really good food there. But I thought I didn't want to bring it up, because I was like, what if I'm wrong? My memory's wrong on that. But
oh yeah.
Yeah. My memory is wrong a lot more than it's right these days. So
like nobody makes mistakes on this show.
Exactly. Oh, that's good stuff. Oh.
All right. Good. Well, Denis, thank you so much. Folks, appreciate y'all tuning in. We are going to let the stream run out, so that if it buffered for you for a few minutes, you'll catch right up. But we'll see you next week.